Hello, magic world of the fair internets. Welcome to Love Beer Radio. This is third show, and yeah, we'll get our first guest going on today. But first up, we have Joe. Say hi, Joe.
How's it going?
Joe is from NEPA Beer Reviews. He's regular. Regular. This is our third show, so how regular is it? And then there's me, Matt, Massive Beer Reviews, and today we're lucky to have another local guy to us, Ryan, Lou Brew Ryan, Brew Photo Ryan, a whole other kind of things I'm not allowed to say on the internet. Ryan, how's it going, buddy?
Good. How you guys doing today?
Good. How was your day?
Not bad. Just nursing a hangover, I guess.
Yeah.
Went out last night.
Hair to dog. Where'd you go? Oh, you went to a Rounce, right?
Yeah, we went there for dinner, and then to the movies, and then we went downtown.
What's downtown?
Like Rodano's and.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because you live kind of not close to Wilkes-Barre, so I didn't know what you were talking about, Pittston or Wilkes-Barre.
No.
What'd you drink last night?
The only good thing was Bourbon County, and then it was the rest. Had some rum and cokes, and actually, I did have a Victory Dirt Wolf down Rodano's.
Oh, nice.
How is that?
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I had it once before.
You're right. I like. I mean, in the Battle of PA, I guess you say double IPAs. I think double Simcoe from Weyerbacher is better, but it's nice.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't too. It was towards the end of tropical, but not like it's like heady topper tropical. But I mean, it had some dankness to it, but it was bearable.
Nice. So let's see, Joe. What's on the agenda today, buddy? Joe's frozen now. He's like a robot. We can't even see him. He's like stuck in time. So Joe is totally frozen. So I'm not sure if he's going to have to drop out and drop back in. But I'll go over all that stuff real quick. Let's see. We are going to go over styles. That's going to be the thing we kind of covered today as far as favorite styles and stuff like that, which should be pretty interesting, just because I'm sure all of our palates have changed. Because you drink totally different beer than you did when you first started.
All right, I'm back.
Okay,
yeah. Yes, I did, Matthew.
Yes, you did. I do. So I already said we're going to cover styles, but I just touched on it briefly, Joe. You go ahead.
Okay, you touched on what we're doing briefly?
I literally just said we're going to cover our favorite styles, and that's as far as I got. I didn't even elaborate on what we're going to be doing beyond that.
All right, so what we're doing today, favorite styles, like Matt said, and then kind of maybe styles that we aren't particularly fond of either. Then the review of the Muskoka Trafalgar Cranberry mead. Unfortunately, Ryan doesn't have that. And then we're going to tie in favorite styles into a discussion on how our tastes have changed, either just over the years or like since we've gotten into beer, and maybe a rough idea of how that happens itself.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll go sideways a couple of times here and there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And, yeah, because, I mean...
That's usually how it goes.
Yeah, well, that's what makes life worth living. Not really, but anyway. So, yeah, I mean, we're going to go over... first, we're just going to touch on favorite style. Actually, before we even jump into that, anybody got any interesting things, tidbits that aren't on that kind of agenda, like news or anything that you kind of came across this week that, like, worth talking about?
I thought I saw. A little bit of a Canadian news. The LCBO, there's talk of them opening up like more craft beer focused stores. I didn't read one of my friends posted an article about it on Facebook.
Yeah, we talked about that briefly on Beer Dweebs.
Yeah, I didn't read the article. I should have, but it looked like kind of like a bottle shoppy kind of deal, and like potentially, I don't know if that would then lead to like potentially more American stuff being available up here. I don't know. Like, what did you get? What was the discussion about on the thing?
I saw a couple quick blurbs on the internet, and then we talked about it briefly. It was basically almost seemed like kind of like a more like crafty bar, almost like a bar, not bar, but just more like Uber craft instead of being like people who haven't been to Canada. LCBO is almost, I would say it's almost like a Pennsylvania style liquor store, but just with beer. That's pretty much all it is.
Okay.
It's the if our state liquor stores sold beer.
It's exactly
that would be the LCBO.
Yeah, from the vibe to how things are laid out to the shelving to everything about it.
Yeah.
It's a little bit nicer, but go ahead, Ryan.
So it's like a government. It's not like privately owned. Each one.
No, it's the like each kind of province has their own version. So like when we say LCBO, I think Liquor Control Board of Ontario. So there'd be like one in Quebec, you know, there'd be stuff out in like British Columbia. At least that's what I'm assuming. It's
right.
And that's one of the reasons why, like, if I go when I go to Canada, or Joe will attest to this, a lot of times it's funny, you go up there and they kind of, you know, not bitch and moan, but they talk about how expensive beer is. But beer, in all reality, in Canada is pretty damn cheap. Like, I was picking up Rochefort. I picked up Rochefort 8 for $3 American. You know what I mean? So it's super cheap. And the reason behind it is because the whole LCBO is the largest purchaser of alcohol, booze in the country, of beer. So they because it's the whole province, or I don't even know if it's the country or province, that just buys beer from one central location. I guess they get such good deals. That's why stuff is so cheap. But the reason why I said this, just because I saw this right before we actually came on the air, is that starting what was that? Starting May 30th, which was yesterday, breweries in Pennsylvania can pour pints of beer for the first time. So I guess before,
they couldn't do it. It was I think Trogs had probably a different licensing.
It's probably a restaurant, and then
they're probably like a brew pub.
Yeah, but actual breweries now can pour pints, which is pretty damn cool.
You couldn't do
Weyerbacher's just samples.
It was just free samples.
Yeah, free samples, and that's it. So that's pretty cool. I mean, it's such an archaic, dumb rule. I don't even know why it still exists, but you know,
I think it's all post-prohibition.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Sunday blue law bullshit. You know what I mean? Other than that, that's pretty much it. So let's jump into favorite styles. Who wants to go first?
Since we found out, well, let's let Ryan start first.
Ooh, trial by fire. Trial by fire.
Yeah.
What's your favorite style going right now? Not what you got off with. We're going to kind of dip into that about how our tastes have evolved and stuff like that. But like right now, you can come up with one, come up with 20, whatever you want to do.
There's right off the top of my head, I'm going to go with there's three. Let's start. I say we'll start at the least to like most sought after.
Okay.
So I guess it would be a air quotes, East Coast IPA, so more towards like the tropical side.
Okay.
You're like anything from Vermont, your Hill Farmstead, Heady Topper, and all those quintessential whale beers, so to speak. But anything more towards the side of tropical with some bittering. I'm not too fond of like dank, piney IPAs. So I tend to steer away from them. I mean, I will try one, but it's not one that I'm going to go to a bottle shop or a bar and order it and drink it.
Fair enough.
Let's see. After that would be sours. So any type of sour, a Brett beer, which is technically not always sour, but anything sour with you got your lambics, your all lactobacillus beers, anything like that. And then finally would be the darker beers, maltier beers. You pour porters, stouts, some barley wines, and I guess we'll throw Belgians in there too.
I'm kind of surprised to hear you say Belgian for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, I mean that's come in as of late since I've been hanging around with you two.
Influences, baby, influences.
Yep, peer pressure.
Yeah. Well, there's been a definite influence with the maltier beers from the two of us.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Definitely. I don't think I've ever had. Well, I mean, I'm pretty new to the whole craft beer. New being like 3-4 years.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I don't think I had a barley wine until I started hanging out with you guys.
Well, touch on that real quick. I mean, we didn't really give much of an introduction to you. We just kind of said your name. You kind of just went over the styles of beers that you like. Tell people about yourself, who you are, what you do, where to find you, how'd you got into shit. Let's do that right now, so people kind of know who they're talking to.
Well, I mean, I'm obviously craft beer fan. Also a home brewer. It kind of started hand in hand. It started with earlier start on home brewing, obviously, and then you go out and try a different beer and you want to make that style. But been home brewing for maybe coming up on 4 years. Like anybody, home brewing started with extract and then quickly went on to brewing all grain.
But how'd you get into that? Like, what was the first catalyst for you to get into beer or homebrewing? Was it both simultaneous, or was it like all happen at once, or did you get into beer and then get into homebrewing? Some people get into homebrewing and then find better beer through homebrewing. You know what I mean?
I think it was just kind of hand in hand almost. Me and my now wife would go to Arena for happy hour, and they'd have a billion bottle beers and 20 or so draft beers, and you'd try one and then like, I wonder if I could make something like this, and then it just spirals out from there.
Nice. And then what was my other question I had? Other than homebrewing, like you got into homebrewing, and then like what? Like when did it kind of change? When did it go from like, oh, I like beer and I'm gonna make a beer to like, okay, now this is gonna be something that my wife gets angry at me all the time about?
Just like I guess any foodie, it just you like crave those flavors. Not that we're alcoholics or anything like that, but it like anything, not to be like hipster, but it's I want good beer. If there's I found that there's good beer out there, I want it. So,
yeah,
I mean,
that's the quote of the century. If there's good beer out there, I want it. I love that.
I mean, and like most of us will go, if we want that beer bad enough, we'll get it.
Very true.
But yeah, they both went hand in hand, and then it just spiraled from there. You make
upward spiral, not downward spiral. It's a good thing.
Oh yeah, definitely a good thing.
Not for your bank account or your or relationship wise sometimes, but.
And then they all say then they start home brewing because it's it'll save you money, but that what you got this, you start with like a 5-gallon pot, and then I need a bigger one. I need this. I need a ball valve. I need all this other odds and ends to supposedly make better beer, but
it's not to make better beer. It's to make life easier.
That is true, but like, what is it?
Which it totally doesn't, because you don't stop buying beer. You probably start buying even more beer, and then now you got to buy homebrew shit too on top of it. So it literally doubles the amount of stress and financials that you need to dump into it. Yeah. So. Before we'll move on to Joe next. Before that, what are you drinking, Ryan, right now?
I'm drinking 21st Amendment Down to Earth Session IPA.
Do you like it?
Yeah, it's not bad. It's kind of like on the tropical side, so the fruitier side, so citrus.
Have you had it before, or is it the first time?
No, this is the first time. It's not too bitter, only 42 IBUs, and it's quintessential session IPA. It's only 4.5%.
Nice. What about you, Joe? What are you drinking?
I'm drinking, once again, I'm drinking my Galaxy IPA homebrew. That's going to be a recurring for, I don't know, at least...
Until it's gone.
If I do like a bomber and I'm just looking in the box that's across the floor, if I do a bomber an episode, I'm good for like 5 that I can see. And then I have some in the fridge too. But I brought up a lot of this from when I was home. And yeah, so.
Nice. And I am drinking a beer I never had before, even though I just reviewed it before going on the air, so technically I've had it before. Brewery Vivint Pothole Stout, which is a Belgian-inspired coffee stout. It's not too shabby. Gotta love cans, but before we went on the air, I was kind of telling Joe what I was drinking, and I realized this is a brewery from Grand Rapids, Michigan. It's actually New Holland's. One of their co-founders split off and started his own brewery that's all this Belgian influence stuff. And I was like, I figured I'd give it a whirl. And then literally while I was talking to Joe, I realized there's a sticker on it, and if I peel it back, it's a sticker on another can of beer. Like,
what?
It's like, yeah. This is the beer that I'm drinking, and this is another one of that brewery's beers. I guess they had extra cans. So I'm going to tell you what right now. I love this brewery so much that they did this. So yeah,
so at least it's the same brewery.
Like ghetto
that's
that
the thing.
Just
like,
love.
Yeah, it's absolutely ghetto, and that's the thing. When I started peeling it off, we didn't know, and I was so hoping it was a different brewery underneath. I was like, oh my god, please let it be. But it's their, and the brewery underneath is their Big Red Cock hoppy Belgo American Red Ale, which I actually have in the fridge too. So I'll definitely give that a whirl. But I just thought that was the most fantastic thing that happened to me in quite some time. So there you go. Okay, enough of me babbling. Joe,
That's funny.
Let's jump into your favorite styles.
All right, so some of my favorite styles: imperial stouts, barley wines, kind of bigger, maltier stuff. I've kind of off and on liked those, but like kind of like Ryan, I really dove into them when I met Matt. I think that's kind of like a theme here.
Yeah, I'm the devil.
Yeah,
he's the cult leader.
He is. But also, I really like IPAs. I don't go crazy. I dropped out a couple minutes ago when Ryan was talking about his, and I kind of came back in toward the tail end, where he's like talking about all like your Hill Farmstead IPAs and Heady Topper and all that kind of shit. I don't look for IPAs anymore. Typically, if I'm going to have an IPA, I'm going to make it myself. If I really want an IPA, I'm just going to make one. Is more often than not, well, that's a stupid thing to say. It will always be fresher. So, like, what I make will always be fresher than, like, what I can get unless I get it from, like, Breaker or Three Guys in a Beard or someone, like, somewhere down the road. So that's kind of, like, that's why I've kind of stopped buying those beers with the exception of, like, the Nickelbrook things that I've reviewed and that Hotbot that we reviewed a while back.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that one Nickelbrook I got, the headstock, that was like 5 days old when I picked it up. So, I mean, every now and then...
I just reviewed a 9-day-old Cause and Effect from Nickelbrook.
Yeah, I saw that. It was a really cool can. I really like Nickelbrook's branding, the whole night. I mean, I like the beers, everything about it is just...
Their labeling's really cool. But another one of my favorite styles, I really like Saisons, especially in the summertime. I'm not... This will now segue into some of my least favorite styles. I don't really like German Hefeweizen.
Let's cover that at a separate thing.
Separate?
Go over all our favorites,
right, well,
yeah. Because Brian didn't go over his least favorites yet, so.
Okay. Well, Saisons, that's kind of my favorite summer beer.
Okay.
Yeah, those are. I like sours as well, but those are another style that I don't particularly go crazy for. And it's another one that I've just started kind of. I have a bunch of plastic that I've already ruined from doing one sour, so now I can brew sours.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of turned you off when you kind of threw your whole system out the window. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't. Yeah. I didn't have to throw my whole system out. I just had to buy. I bought 5 new buckets.
Yeah.
Now all my old stuff is just sour.
Sour, baby. So let's see. Let me. I kept my list short as opposed to last week. Yeah, because I realized I didn't want to sit here. I would sit here and talk for 9 days, but who the hell wants to listen to me talk for 9 days? And no in particular order. First off, I'm going to lead with old ales, and I'm gonna lump old ale and English barley wine kind of into one, even though they're not.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Technically, while it's a common thing that an old ale was the precursor to a barley wine, technically an old ale is any beer that is old.
Yes, but there's a particular style to an old ale. Like when you're talking about an old ale, a traditional English style old ale is English old ale as opposed to just being
like a winter warmer, like an unspiced winter warmer would be an old ale.
And that's the reason why I'm lumping them together, because they kind of split hairs when I'm talking about your old stock, your Thomas Hardy.
The only reason I made that distinction is because we had that BJCP class last year, and it's all like, what if you were to enter an English style barley wine, it would not necessarily do good under the old ale category. It would do better under English style barley wine.
The way I view it, English old ales and English barley wines is the same way same way I think everybody else views Belgian quads and Belgian strong darks. Okay. Not all Belgian strong darks are quads, but all quads are Belgian strong darks. Do you know what I mean? It's just Belgian strong dark ale that is a quad. Not all Belgian strong darks are quads. All old ales are English barley wines, but not all English barley wines are old ales. Do you know what I mean? So it's it's kind of like that thing where it's like one fits inside another's compartment, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're both the same thing. And that's kind of why I lump them together. Do you know what I mean? So that would be one of my favorites, one of the originals that I got into. Russian Imperial Stouts, basic, and I'm going non-barrel aged stuff here just because I'm sticking with favorite styles. I mean, barrel aged stuff kind of throws a twist on everything. So Russian Imperial Stouts, atypical classic Russian Imperial Stout. Non-hop forward, non-bitter, you know what I mean? Courage, Black Albert, Harvey's. I like the Harvey's one we had, even though that was a little bit askew. That's a beer I go.
That one was crazy.
Yeah. A couple styles that actually the next 3 are styles I think don't get a lot of play, and they're actually styles that I love. First is their wee heavy Scotch ales. I mean, you do see them, but it's not like a huge style that a lot of people kind of gravitate towards brewery-wise.
Yeah.
So I've always been a big. Ryan, your headphones got unplugged, buddy, or your speakers are going. There you go, buddy. So if anybody was just watching, you just had an acid trip, and we have it. We have Scotch ales are one of my favorite styles, especially a really well done one. Just kind of turns me on, and you don't see them all over the place, so that's a good one. Next up, again another lumped together one, even though they're different beers, but a little bit similar. Your Doppelbock Weizenbachs, kind of throw those together. You're just splitting hairs with wheat versus malt. I love Doppelbocks just for a couple reasons. One, mouthfeel, and 2, the amount of flavor you typically pull out of a Doppelbock at a lower ABV. That's why it kind of turns me on. And Weizenbachs, because I love bananas, and you usually get a ton of banana in them, so there you go. And let's see, another one that is kind of, sort of making a little bit of headway because of one particular brewery as of late, but it's always been a style I'm a really big fan of, and that's Baltic Porters. Baltic Porter is just, another lager. Well, it actually can be a lager. It can also be another style depending on what you want it to be or where it comes from, brewing-wise. But with Jack's Abbey and a couple other people kind of taking that style to like different levels, that's it's always been one of my favorites. And to cap it off, I'm gonna go Belgian Quad instead of going just Belgian beers in general. I just wanted to pick one instead of just going. I like Belgian beers, and it's like 9 billion different styles.
Really.
It's where I started. And I still love them as much now as I did the day I started, which I think is a little bit unique for a lot of people. I mean, you always have your first love, but I mean, it's still up there as one of my favorite styles. I think it's from what it delivers, it just turns me on so much, and it's a weird thing because a lot of to go old curmudgeon guy again, a lot of new people that are into beer seem to skip over. Belgians, and we were kind of touching on this last week, and it just seems like a style that it really is a thing a lot of old school people wax poetic about, and I don't know, it just seems like old curmudgeon guy beer. So there you go. That's my favorite styles.
And that's his shortened list.
Yeah, that's my short
Yeah,
list.
really.
Yeah. Well, don't they hate on me because I elaborate and bring information. And I'm just like, I like Belgian quads, old ales, Russian Imperial stouts, wee heavies, Doppelbocks, Weizenbocks, and Baltic porters. I'm done.
Yep.
So pretty much, I mean, we had a lot of the same stuff on there. Probably what would you say the most uniform one on that would probably be, I don't know, stouts, Russian Imperial stouts or Imperial stouts?
I think it would be the Russian Imperial stouts, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you guys had IPAs involved, and we'll get. I mean, when we talk about evolving palates, I'll get into that part of it. But yeah, there you go. Those are the beers we like for the 3 people who are watching, which is probably Amanda, Joe's mom, and Ryan's wife, and that's pretty much it. So there you go.
She's chasing the kids around.
There you go. So yeah, where do you want to go? Where do you want to go next? You want to go in styles we're not a big fan of? Is that where you want to go, Joe? Or?
Yeah. Let's go into that a little bit. I could elaborate more on why I don't particularly like it.
Okay. Where do you want to start?
I'll kick off on this one. Like I was saying before, I'm not a huge German Hefeweizen fan. The reason you like Weizenbachs is the reason why I don't like a lot of Belgian beers. I don't like banana flavored stuff, and so that like really kind of turns me off to that style, which is at least wheat beer wise why I like Belgian wits more than Hefeweizens, just the lack of banana involved, and also kind of why I like the darker Belgian world. You don't always, like, you'll get them sometimes, but it's less common than in the lighter Belgian, like lighter styles. Well, they're all technically kind of light, but that's a different story. Also, like, something that I didn't particularly like was like Belgian styles of other beers, basically like breweries taking their style, their stout or whatever, and just like tossing Belgian yeast at it. I wasn't really a big fan. Like Flying Dog's Raging Bitch Belgian IPA is an okay beer. It just doesn't really do much for me. I would rather have either a Belgian beer or that stout or IPA or whatever. Triples are a style that I'm kind of coming around to, like the golden. I know I just went off on this whole big rant about why I don't like them, but like triples and Belgian golden ales were something that I kind of passed up for a long time. And then in class last semester, we got to try a couple different offerings. I think we tried the St. Bernardus triple, and it was really good. So that kind of has me coming around to at least that style of beer. Yeah, those are some of the things that I don't particularly like.
I struggled with this one, which is
Yeah.
weird because I'm so opinionated about what I do and I don't like. Because I throw out a lot of hate on a lot of beers all the time, but like beers I really don't like. First thing you guys would probably think I'd say would be a sour, but I'm really kind of like starting to get a grasp on what I like in sours. So I wouldn't say I really don't like them. I mean, it's not a beer I run to, but when I'm having them more often than not now, it's something that I'm a little bit more in tune with. Same thing goes for IPAs, and that's been my or double IPAs. It's been my thing from the beginning. I've never hated IPAs. There's so much shit IPA out there. It was hard for me to weed through the shit to find the good stuff, but now, I'm figuring out more what I like and who makes what. So it's not. I like, some of my favorite beers I've had the past year were IPAs. Really, I mean, if I'm gonna go like beers that I'm really not a big fan of, it'd be your base lager. I just doesn't do much for me. One thing I still can't get my head wrapped around, and it's probably the leader in the pack, is your smoked beer. You're not in a beer with some smoke involved, or a barrel aged, like a brewery smoking wood or something like that. That's not a smoked beer. You know what I mean? I'm talking about your straight up beef jerky in a glass smoked beer. I still just doesn't do much.
So that
for me.
that one German brewery that
like
beer.
Awkward beer. Oh, yeah, smoked. I mean, I've used it for cooking. I like it using it as a marinade, as a base for a marinade or something like that. But to drink it, no, not at all. And that's pretty much it. I mean,
that's a kind of style that it's another one that I'm kind of warming up to. But it's definitely something that I need. I can't just drink it like I'm drinking this right now.
Yeah.
I need it with food or something,
Yeah. Yeah, what about you, Ryan?
Well, I'm gonna go. I agree with you 100% on the smoked beers. I mean, I could do a little bit of smoke, but I just don't want to drink like ashtray water. So like anything that has like smoked, like peat malt or anything like that, just no.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna have it. I mean, like we reviewed, what was it, that Holy Cross?
Oh, yeah, like the Holy Smoke or something?
Holy Smoke,
Yeah.
That was,
Who,
I mean...
who made that again?
Church Key.
Church
Key. Yeah, okay. They just started following me on Instagram like 2 days ago. Anyway.
So, yeah, that would probably be my... Like, Matt, I had a hard time because there's not a beer that I won't try. I mean, you put anything in front of me, I'll try it. I'll at least try it, but that would be one. Another one would be pumpkin beers. I don't like pumpkin beers. I don't know if it's just because I don't like pumpkin, with the exception being Maple Mistress.
And that's a gourd. That's a sputter and splash.
Yeah,
it's not
true, very true. I don't.
It says maple syrup. You put maple syrup on doo-doo and it tastes good.
It's very true. But no, I don't know if it's. I don't like pumpkin pie. I don't like eating pumpkin seeds. I mean, I just think it has to do with me just not liking pumpkin. So that smoked beer, and one that I like you guys, I'm kind of warming up to it, is winter warmers. Heavily spiced winter warmers. It's not just I just don't like them.
Winter warmer is like a weird beer because it's very what do I want to say? It's very you can take a lot of liberty with the style. So it's like a hard one. I've had winter warmers I liked, and I had winter warmers I didn't like, not because they were less flavor or more flavor, just they're different. It's almost like a beer to guard. It's like a thing where it kind of goes all over the place and get a little bit wonky style wise.
But other than those three that I could think of, that's pretty much it. I mean,
Well, let's throw this one out there. I just thought of we covered the beers we don't like. What barrels do you have specific barrels you don't like? Like, because I know I have barrels that I love and barrels that I don't like. Do you have that? Like, what barrels you love and what barrels you don't love?
For me, I don't get much of anything from rum.
Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth.
I
Filthy
don't.
mouth.
I don't. I don't really pick up like the couple of rum barrel. Like, I do have a bottle of Rumpkin that I need to try, but like the couple of rum barrel aged beers that we've tried, I don't know. I don't really. If it's
the ones that I'm thinking of, which would be Rumpkin, which would be the pumpkin rum beige pumpkin, and the Rubble from Trillium. Those are two of the worst rum barrel aged beers I've had.
Okay.
So those are not indicative of the style.
Yeah. Another barrel, like I want to try doing more stuff with tequila. I'd be really interested in like tequila barrel things. I had the Agave Maria from Lost Abbey, and that was really good.
Yeah, we had that at your share, didn't we?
Had that at my place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was going to be one barrel that I don't like, tequila. I just don't.
What?
That was going to be the barrel. Yeah, there's not many barrels that I don't like, but tequila would be one of them. Yeah.
Is that just like a genuine like you had a really bad tequila experience and it's like?
No, I mean I'm not. Tequila is not my first spirit of choice, but I just don't like the taste of tequila.
Yeah.
And that's a weird thing for me. It's like, I mean, barrel-aged stuff is a little bit different to go with what you don't like because it has a lot to do with the beer that goes into it. So, you could have rum barrel-aged suck and have it be good based on the beer that goes in it. But, like, for me, the two that stick out in my head, well, technically more than two, but the first one would be I don't like Scotch barrel-aged stuff. I love Scotch. Yeah. It's one of my probably my number one favorite spirit. Like, I love it. Give me a good 60-year-old Speyside Scotch and I am in heaven. But it just doesn't work for me in a beer aspect. I just don't like Scotch-aged stuff. I mean, I just did an Oladub vert. It was okay, but it didn't bring anything.
We just had that Orca Slee.
Orca Slee, and that I really liked.
That was really good. We just had that the other day.
And this is the thing about that beer that kind of blew me away, and that's probably one of the best of Scotch barrel-aged beers I had. The balance between a light lager and that barrel was spot fucking on. I couldn't even believe you could have such a gentle light beer, and they balanced it with such a harsh, in-your-face Scotch. I was blown away. That was by far my favorite Scotch barrel-aged beer.
That takes some talent too.
That's what I'm saying. Like the fact that it was that light to barrel age and have it come out. I mean, what did you think about it, Joe?
There's nowhere to hide in that light of a beer.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had it in our sensory class last Monday, and the guy that's teaching the class is one of the chefs in the culinary program, and it was classic case of like he did not expect a lager or a light beer to come out of that bottle. He's like, I was expecting something that looked like motor oil.
Yeah.
He's like, and to have this come out, he's like, this is really crazy.
Yeah, and it's like weird because like me and Brad, we did the Oladub vertical. We did the 12. He brought over 12, the 16, the 18, and the 21, and I was like, well, I just brought back the Orchard Sleigh from Canada. I'm like, let's just throw it in a mix because it's all the same thing. Let's just do it, just to throw it in there, and it won. Out of all those beers, out of those big old ales, barrel aged, blah blah blah, big thick, it was the one that I graded the highest because it was just the balance between the beer and the barrel was off the hook. So yeah, like Scotch aged stuff. Typically, like I said, I just wax poetic over a Scotch aged beer that I like, so it's more balanced than anything. But the other one is I don't want to say wine barrels in general because there's wine barrel aged stuff I do like. Specifically, Malbec wine barrel stuff I'm not a big fan of, and Chardonnay barrel aged stuff I'm usually not a big fan of.
So more red wine? barrels you like?
Yeah, like the white Chardonnay gives it too much of a sour, almost like sour to it. Like tartness. Like I have a hard time. Is this going bad, or is it just a wine barrel age coming through? Do you know what I mean? But
I think that's why you see a lot of wine barrel aged stuff in the sour range. Like it doesn't.
Yeah.
To me, it doesn't get too much mileage outside of sour beers.
But there's I mean, that one that Heavy Seas we did when we first started reviewing together, that was fantastic.
That and Whiny Bastard from Brook. But like, other than that, those are the two off the top of my head that I can think of that were not sour beers, and were aged in wine barrels.
Nice.
Yeah.
What about you, Ryan? Was it just a tequila? Did you already cover your stuff, or what?
Yeah, just tequila, really. I like all the wines. I really haven't had many other than sours that like the white wines. Had a couple of like big stouts aged in like red wine barrels or Cabernet barrels or port barrels, but they really work good together. I mean, red wine and chocolate go hand in hand, so it's a good match there. Not too much.
Let's do this. Okay, let's do the flip, and let's do favorite barrels. But because I mean, we could wax poetic about all the favorite barrels we have. If you have to pick one barrel, let's do that one. One barrel and one barrel only to age your stuff in. You can only pick one. Let's do that.
Okay.
That makes it a little more fun now, doesn't it?
Are you going like brand or just type of
type
spirit?
of shut your Pappy Van Winkle ass up.
I wasn't gonna even say Pappy.
I am joking. Yeah, just the style of liquor. It doesn't have to be a specific
style of liquor.
If you want to go exact on the exact one, that's fine. But bourbon, rum, whatever. You know what I mean?
Tequila for me. I think we're barrel. I think bourbon has enough play as it is. The other reason it has enough play is because they can only use those barrels once.
Okay. How about you, Ryan?
So are you talking about like a beer that I want to make or a beer that I want to drink?
No,
okay.
Just if you could
your
only
favorite barrel aged, like if it's not stuff you make, it's like a barrel that you covet, that when you drink a beer, whether you made it or somebody else made it, you think this is the best barrel that you out of all the beers you've had.
I mean, it's very cliche, but hands down bourbon.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's cliche for a reason. You know what I mean? It's cliche because it fucking works. Bourbon's close as fuck, but I gotta go brandy barrel aged stuff.
Ooh, that's a good choice.
I've had tons of bourbon barrel aged stuff that was fantastic, but more often than not, brandy barrel aged stuff just blows me. Oh, it's probably at a 95% clip. I've liked everything in the brandy barrel. So
you can't go wrong with.
I don't
brandy.
know if I've ever had a brandy barrel.
The old stock 2011 we reviewed together.
Oh, did we review that?
Yeah. Remember, we both loved it too.
Yeah.
Remember, you loved it.
So much that I don't remember. I think I might have gotten drunk.
Oh yeah, we might have gotten a little bit tipsy that night. So.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go. I mean, we just went over favorite styles, went over least favorite styles we're not big fans of, and threw a little bonus what barrels we hate and our favorite barrel. So what do you want to do, Joe? You want to crack into some weird mead action?
Sure. I got another glass here just for that occasion. So I wasn't running around like last week.
So me and Joe are going to do a live review. Ryan's going to sit there and just be a color man right now, talking, putting in the snippets of sarcasm.
Have you guys had any meads before?
I've had meads before. I've never had this one before.
What is that?
I don't know if I've actually had meads before.
This is Trafalgar Brewing, which is out of Canada. It's their Muskoka Cranberry Mead, alcoholic beverage, 8.5% alcohol by volume. It is a cranberry mead. On the side here it says, the flavor of honey depends on the climate, floral, and genealogy or terroir of the region. Throughout Ontario, the different terroirs result in ultimate uniquely flavored honey, which can be fermented into slightly different braggot-style meads. In this, the third of our series, Mead Terriers, we have an aged wildflower honey and cranberries from Muskoka. Fashion is very refreshing mead. Enjoy it gently chilled. So there you go. Ingredients: water, honey, barley, hops, yeast, and cranberries. Now, me and Joe touched on this before we came in the air. Basically, he was like, it sounds more braggot than mead. And from what I've been told is Chad from Albino Rhino Beer Review. If you don't follow him, I don't know why you don't, but if you do, go follow him. He told me that basically
Can you get this cork off?
Yeah, mine's already out. Yeah.
Really? Because I can't fucking get mine.
If you take your tampon out, it comes out easier.
Give me a minute then.
He told me that this has more ingredients, more skewing towards beer, or a braggot beer rather than mead, just so they can sell it in the LCBO in Canada. There's some kind of weird rule about not having pure mead there or something like that, so that's the only reason it has extra ingredients in it.
Just so they no regulations about mead. That must be
because I don't know too many meads that have
so
barley in it.
Eventually I will get to this review.
Joe, use your strong hand. Are you righty or lefty?
Yeah. Come on, Joe. This is you're screwing up the whole vibe here. This is a professional show with professional.
I really fucking am.
This
screwing
is
up the professionalism here.
Yeah, this is so professional.
Fuck
it's not even
off.
funny.
Jesus Christ.
Do you need a corkscrew?
I don't have one.
You can email him one.
Yeah.
Really? Do you have a young lady or young boy around that could help you out there?
If only.
Yeah.
I seriously can't get this fucking cork out. It's not even, like, I can wiggle it a little bit, but it is not fucking
Twist it. Use your shirt.
I'm using my shirt. Apparently this shirt, which, by the way, my sister got me, I know she's watching this, is really slick, and I can't get a good fucking grip on it.
Well, what you can always do is you can get up and find something to get it off. Do you have pliers? Do you have a drill? Do you have a bandsaw, maybe? How about, do you have a shotgun? You can just blow the end of it off?
Yeah.
You got a screw?
This is great. This is great radio. This is great television.
Watch Joe struggle.
Yeah.
I've had 3 meads in my life, and they were all from the same meadery.
Let me go pry this fucking thing off. You guys talk for a minute.
Okay, me and Ryan are going to talk about how much Joe. I don't know. Ryan, what are you making right now? Like, what are you brewing? What do you plan on brewing? What do you have fermenting? What's going on with you homebrew wise?
I am homebrew wise. Right now I'm doing an amber lager that's in the lagering phase. So it's down in my fermentation chamber, chilling at about 33 degrees.
What do you have, a fridge down in the basement?
Yeah, it's a mini fridge with a temperature controller.
Nice.
So, one end, it has a plug. One end gets plugged into the refrigerator. So when I need it cooled, the refrigerator kicks on, and I have a little heater, kind of like a reptile heater, plugged in the other one. So when I need to kick the temperature up, that'll kick on.
Oh, nice, man.
Yeah.
That's pretty good stuff. What was I going to say? I just lost my train of thought.
It's an amber lager. It's kind of a take on like almost Yingling lager style.
Yeah. So like 4 or 5%, give or take.
Yeah. I'm brewing it for my father-in-law. I'm going to the beach in like 2 weeks, so I'm gonna take it down. He's a big Yingling fanboy.
Now, how did your you did that homebrew challenge? How did that work out for you as far as like how did it come out for you?
The hop experiment.
Yes.
That was pretty. Right now, we all ship. Well, current status is everybody's beer is at our hub, so to speak. The guy who was running it, so he could switch out. There's 10 guys, same recipe, and 10 different experimental dual-purpose hops. Like they can be used for bittering and aroma. So everybody was given like 2 weeks, a 2-week window to brew, and then another 2 weeks or so to ferment. and then another week to ship it
All
down
right,
to
I'm
them.
back and I got the fucker out.
Okay, hold on. We're in the middle of a conversation. If you can't open bottles, then you have to acquiesce to Ryan at this point.
All right,
And then,
well,
but how did you like how it came out?
fair enough.
Oh yeah, I think it was. I mean, it's a hop that I've never used before, and it came out. It was right how I like my IPAs. It's a very tropical, citrusy, almost citra-like hop.
Oh,
So
and then what was the? Where's mine?
Where's yours?
Yeah, mine. Where's mine? Why didn't you give me any?
I still have some left. No, I could throw some in a bottle if you want some.
Oh, Jesus. So rude. Anyway, back to review time. So, how you doing there, Mary? Did you get your bottle open?
God, I started to sweat a little bit. Nah, it was one of the hardest fucking corks to get out.
I'm gonna get another beer while you guys are doing this.
I've ever had. I eventually got it out when I grabbed one of my dish towels, which, as opposed to my shirt, had a little bit better grip on it.
Nice.
So
I mean, first off, I mean that is it's cranberry mead. I mean, it looks like cranberry juice.
yeah, it's
A little bit of carbonation.
very cranberry.
Pretty white head. A little bit of. I mean, at this point now, there's just a little bit of kind of like, edging
I've
around
got
there.
pretty much nothing. Like there's a low kind of foam on the outer side, like the outside of the glass, but
Let's dive in at nose, baby. It smells like to me it smells like a raspberry sugar candy sour. It smells sweet and sour at the same time. With that honey, is that that's what's bringing that
I
sweetness
get
there.
that honey sweetness, and like that real cranberry kind of tartness,
Yeah. So it's like a really weird play in the nose, and that you're getting that huge honey sweetness, and then you're getting that tartness.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like battling back and forth. Really, not much else going on because both of those notes are super. They're like so big, I can't even get past.
And I think like if you look on the bottle, you probably talked about it when I was trying to get the cork out. But it says barley, hops, and the only beer components would be barley and hops. I think those are just there to skate that regulation.
That regulation, yeah. So yeah, man, let's dive right in and see what she's got. Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers.
Here you go, Matthew.
Mm. That's not too bad, man.
No, that's pretty good.
And honestly, to me, it tastes literally like a little bit of honey and some ocean spray. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Zero booze. I mean, what is it? 8 and change. 8.5.
8. Yeah, 8.5.
It's not sour. It's tart.
No, like it's got that real cranberry kind of tartness,
Yeah.
Is 8.5 sounds kind of low for a mead? I don't know. What do you?
I have really no frame of reference. I don't know. Like, do these usually get up into like the wine territory?
Well, because they use what? They use the honey as their fermenting sugar in it, correct? And
Yeah.
Mead is basically just honey. It's just honey.
Yeah, and then usually that's why you get a higher ABV because you have such a sugar-laden catalyst, right?
Right, and you use a different type. You don't usually use like regular brewers type yeast. You use almost like a wine yeast, which is higher tolerant to alcohol.
So yeah, I mean, this is actually I'm enjoying this. Like I said, it's not to break it down to its like most basic parts, but it tastes like a cranberry juice with honey. And that's not a bad thing. It's very simple, but very. I think it's
really good, and it's really caught me by surprise. I wasn't sure really what to think when I was going into this, and it's nice. But would I necessarily drink? This is a 375 milliliter bottle, so roughly a 12-ounce bottle. Would I even? I would split. I would probably prefer to split this.
This is a splitter. Yeah, this is not something I'd want to kill to my own head. But the thing I find most enjoyable about it is that tartness is big enough to where you think it's going to make it kind of smack your palate, but that honey fights it off enough to where it's like super drinkable. It's like a nice balance between the two.
It's got that kind of like almost. I think it's definitely the cranberries. It almost has that like kind of Flanders red ale, like Duchess de Bourgogne kind of feel to it, you know.
Well, it's probably a combination of that, or like Ryan was saying, there's probably some kind of like wine-based yeast as opposed to beer-based yeast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you guys classify it on the sweeter or the drier end? I don't know if you guys said that.
It's not really that dry.
No, I mean, I'd say sweet.
Dry, yeah, it's there's a bit of drying going on, but it's definitely sweeter than more than anything.
So, I've had a bunch of meads that were so sweet. It was like drinking like extract syrup. Like
no, this is not like I wouldn't say cloying. I would say overly sweet. Like Joe was saying, I would like to split this. I think it's more because of the acids more than the sweetness. Right. I don't think I can do both.
For me, it's kind of the sweetness isn't cloying, but it's there enough to where eventually this is going to be too much for me. You know,
actually, I actually think I got this nailed down. You know what I think this tastes like? A cranberry Jolly Rancher.
Okay.
That to me is what it's like. You get that Jolly Rancher taste, the specific Jolly Rancher taste for me. That's what it's like. But yeah, I mean, rating-wise, I would give it probably like an 84. I enjoy it. I don't want to drink a whole bottle of it. It's nice. It's better than what I thought it would be. But like you said, I can't finish a whole bottle of it, so I'll give it an 84 overall.
Yeah. I'd probably be right around there with you. Probably like a solid B. I have no other frame of reference to like say if X was present, it would bump it up a little bit more. So you're
just going off pure enjoyment, and that's what I'm.
Pure
that's what I'm
enjoyment.
Doing.
And I would like this. I think better in a group of people, and we're all kind of sitting around, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, and I usually do the value and availability. It's Trafalgar. It's Ontario. You can't get it in the States.
Fun story about Trafalgar. They've been open for a while, and like never, from what I'm hearing, never really. They made okay stuff, but it wasn't super good. Then apparently they got some graduates from the program that I'm in, and now all of a sudden they're like awesome. They're like doing they're like winning competitions, and like really it's definitely a brewery if you're in Canada to start looking out for.
Really? Nice. And apparently Ryan hates us because he left. Let's see. And so yeah, like I said, I'm not going to cover the whole value and availability thing. It's nice. It's a nice cranberry-based mead. Doesn't blow me away. But yeah. And the other thing that literally just popped in my head right now because you were talking about funny story. I was out and about looking for beer today. I throw a barbecue once a year, and I'm having it next week. And me and Joe reviewed a Hop City Hop Bot. About a couple weeks ago, I posted it, and he's like, "Yeah, this is like somebody told me this is the best
probably one of the best
offerings in Canada." And
Ontario, yeah.
And I found it today randomly in Pittston, Pennsylvania. I found a case of it in bottles.
Why you found them is they are a subsidiary of Moosehead.
Moosehead. And that was one of the things I was going to get into. But here's the other funny part, is I didn't have my phone on me. I went to another distributor and found another different beer from them. At another,
really?
Yeah, I found their, I think it was the 8 Sin Black Lager. Huh. I found at Beer Super in Wilkes-Barre. Like, I was like, I freaking find 2 Hop City beers. And then I looked it up today, and when I went on to Rate Beer just to look up information, next to Hop City Brewing, it has Moosehead. I'm like, oh, that's why. Because it's Moosehead. So there you go. So, yeah, there. Nice little anecdote. So, yeah. Cool. What are you drinking? Still drinking an IPA? You're rubbing it in my face, Ryan?
Yeah, it's my the homebrew. All Oaxaca Hop IPA.
Yeah, whatever.
Kind of a off-topic question. What are your take on cloudy IPAs as opposed to like clean ones? Like crystal clear. Joe, what do you? I mean,
Cloudy is
like just
in what, like chill
just
haze or like yeasty, like
no,
like
just
is this like cloudy kind of like this guy?
yeah. I mean, because most of like IPAs are from like commercial. Like some of them are very like crystal clear, almost like lager, like where you could see through them. And I know like some people that are like, if you give them a home brew, they'll look at you like you're on drugs because it's cloudy or it's got some chill haze in it. Personally, I don't mind it.
I don't mind it either, but it's something like with an IPA, every step, every normal step, at least in a production brewery, of your process is going to strip away some of the aroma and some of the flavor. So filtering is going to take
if you're
away.
Filtering, yeah.
Filtering is going to take away some of that stuff. So I don't know. It's like one of those things that like it's so divided as to what, like, I don't mind if it tastes good. I don't mind that it's cloudy.
But here's the thing. For me, if it tastes good, I don't mind what the fuck it looks like. It could be fucking purple, and it can, I don't care if it tastes good. And here's the thing: 99% of the time, I would say. Oh, let's put it this way: I would say 90% of the beers I love are cloudy, and I would say 5% of non-cloudy beers. Like, I wouldn't say that much on the other side, but like.
Yeah.
When I look at a beer and it has a nice haziness to it, whether it's unfiltered or whatever, like I just poured, just for the sake of pouring something close to that. This is Great Lakes Chill Wave. You know what I mean? Like this is like
beautiful beer.
See if I can get like a light on this to give you an idea of coloration. You know what I mean? Like it's you can't, you're not really getting through there. I mean, you can see through it. It's opaque.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's got a beautiful haze to it. And like I think what you're touching on, you could filter a beer, but no matter what you do, when you filter a beer, you're gonna take out flavor because it's gonna take out
you're gonna take out aroma, you're gonna take out flavor.
You're also gonna diminish the like the hop profile too.
And you're gonna diminish mouthfeel. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like it's to me a lot of times with the whole unfiltered thing. It's retraining your brain because, like, not us specifically, but a lot of people, like, I think a lot of places want to produce a beer that's not too hazy because the general public is afraid of that. Like, they view that as a negative.
Yeah.
That's why I was saying while you were gone to Joe, most people are looking for, their adjunct lagers that are, like, your Miller Lite and all those. They're looking for
If you look at everything that Tired Hands puts out, they're
all hazy.
All hazy.
Yeah.
Same thing with Hill Farmstead too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's why reduce flavor? I understand that. I understand there's a consistency you want to have, so sometimes you have to do a bit of filtering in order to have consistency involved. But I mean, it's really just it doesn't need to be clear, and that's my thing when I do reviews. I do the whole, I look at it first, and more times than not, when I see a nice funky density haziness to it, I'm like, okay, this shit looks fucking fantastic. You know what I mean? If it's super duper duper clear, depending on the style, I might be like, okay, this looks like it's gonna be good, but more times than not, I'm like, I don't know,
I just cracked open one of my first barley wines. It was the Maker's Mark version of it, and that just over time, everything that was in it settled out and compacted so much. That beer I was surprised, like, just drinking it. I'm like, wow, this is pretty fucking clear.
Really?
And I did nothing to it, and it's just like, I made that beer, what?
2 years ago?
Be at least 2 years ago. Maybe even more.
No, a little bit under, because you gave me. We reviewed it when we first did reviews, and we first did reviews around May of last year, and then you made it about 4 or 5 months before that, I think.
Okay.
So it's coming up on a year.
Okay.
Or 2 years. Coming up on 2 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's definitely older than a year. It had to be at least 2 years old.
Yeah,
but yeah, it just like, everything kind of.
Go ahead.
Like everything in it, just it's like it was like that dark horse. It was like the Plead the Fifth, like yeast cake on the bottom. It was just so dense and so compact that like you would have to stir it up so violently to even rouse any of that.
Let me ask you this: like when you cracked this and drank it, was that when you texted me like about 5 days ago, going, "Do you have any of these left?" Because you needed to drink it. Was that?
Yes, that was exactly why. It was so fucking good. I don't even know if I have any of that That was the better of the two. I fucked up on the Buffalo Trace.
Okay, so we're covering a bunch of fun stuff. You got any other off-topic stuff you want to talk about, or?
I don't know.
So Ryan threw a good one out there. Good job, buddy. Kudos to you. Golf clap for you. Let's go into evolution, and that's kind of like what the whole title of this broadcast hangout. We're going to palate taste evolution. Like, where did you guys start off with? Where did you go, and where are you now, and where are you trending towards something in the future? I'll go first since I haven't gone first on any of this shit. So it's a weird one for me. Like I've rarely threw beers away. Do you know what I mean? Like I've been like, okay, I drank this. Now that's in my past. Like I touched on earlier. I started off as a Belgian person when I got into good beer when I was shown the ropes. Loved Belgian quads. Loved old ales. Belgian quads and old ales are still two of my favorite beers. I've garnered a lot of more beers along the way and what I like. So my core base is still there. I was kind of spoiled when I started off and had really good beers to start off, so that has something to do with it because a lot of people, when they get into good beers, they're kind of stumbling along their way and then they think something's good. Not that what they started off with isn't good, but it's just smaller, quote-unquote smaller. Plus I'm old and you guys are young. Anyway. And then I probably, I kicked off on that, and this is the weird part with me, and I've touched on this in my review sometime. I don't think I've talked about it on the show yet, is that I hit a very stagnant spot in my beer enjoyment. Like I got to the point where I was like into Belgians, I was into old ales, and that was pretty much it. And I stopped, and I became quite the curmudgeon-y introvert, and kind of skirted around my beer circle a little bit, but really stuck with those styles. Excuse me. And didn't really start to like get back into it till a few years ago. I was just like, I don't know what it was. Started exploring again. I just got in a rut, and once I started exploring again, things started to blossom as far as like beers I started getting to. Once I started reviewing, that's when shit went ape shit. You know what I mean? Like because I didn't care what it was. Just give me a beer, I'll review it and say if I like it or not. I don't care what it is. I just need shit to review. So along that path, I've grown a bigger appreciation for IPAs, especially specifically double IPAs. Not that I touched on before. Not that I don't like them, but specifically Great Lakes Chill Wave. Right now, I'm drinking this. Like this is one of my favorite beers going right now, and I'll drink this all day long. Let's see what else. Sours. I couldn't put down a sour probably about 10 years ago, and not that I buy them, but the other day or a month ago when Joe was in, we were at Sabatini's and he had the Duchess. Not that that's the most sour of sours, but I was like, you know what? Let me get a taste of that. I haven't had it in forever, and I enjoyed it. And that's a beer I really couldn't drink anything of because my ex-wife loved that beer, and I was like, oh my god. I'm like, at least like a beer that I want to drink. That way I have some beer laying around. So, I mean, that's I've kind of evolved, getting more into that. Other than that, it's been a weird thing. Like, my evolution, I don't want to say I've evolved from one point or another. I think my base point is still the same. I've just added more ammo to the repertoire, and grown to appreciate appreciation for specific stuff. Like both of you guys know, I've texted back and forth, kind of making fun of saisons and stuff like that. I actually like saisons. It's not that I don't like them; it's the price points at which I think a lot of people charge for them. I have a problem with. So I like everything. Like, it's weird not to be like. I don't know what else to say other than I've added more shit, and really, there's not one beer other than your adjunct bullshit that I started drinking when I was 16 that I've kind of thrown to the wayside. But I'll even drink shit beer. I'll drink fucking adjunct lager crap beer at a fucking golf outing. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, but I mean, as far as liking it, I've liked way more than. I don't think I've unliked anything. That's kind of a weird way to put it. I've just added more to it and have enjoyed more stuff. So yeah, that's my take. How about you guys?
I mean, I kind of started into beer with getting kind of whatever I could, and I really dove kind of headfirst into IPAs, and like that was for a long time. Whenever I would go out and buy beer, because I've said on the show, and whenever we're reviewing, I say us. What I've meant by us is myself and Amanda, my girlfriend. When we first started reviewing, whenever I would go buy beer, I would get hoppy stuff for me and stouts that would be geared more toward Amanda. And then eventually that started to switch to where I was buying bigger stuff, like imperial stouts and all this, like barrel-aged kind of things, and just stuff that I could sit and age. Is once I started brewing, I liked to see how like what time did to beers. And I've said before on a couple of reviews, one beer comes to mind that you wouldn't think I would like you wouldn't think would be good with some time on it, but that's Avery's Maharaja. It's their double IPA. I like it with 3 months on it. I think it really hits its stride at 3 months. So yeah, like that was also another beer where I'm like, well, what does time do to these styles? What would sitting on this for a month, 2, 3, 12, however long I wanted to do it, what would that do to this style? And that's kind of like, also apart from hanging out with you, that's another factor of getting into to higher ABV beers.
No, I mean, like, with the whole age thing, actually, you know what, that's the one thing I probably didn't touch on, that if anything, the one thing I've evolved with, or evolved to, is liking negatives in aged beer. It's like a weird thing, because a lot of people are like, oxidation this, wet paper that, this metallic this, or whatever's here, and they're negatives in old beer. And sometimes it's really hard to get a perfect old beer with zero negatives, zero oxidation. It's just kind of par for the course. Some things drop off.
In a perfect world, oxidation would lean more towards something like sherry than it would cardboard.
Yeah, but even it's gotten to the point now where, like, even some of the negatives, I don't want to say I love, but I don't hate them. Like, I kind of like them a little bit. Like, it's just I've evolved to, I wouldn't say enjoy, but not be hindered by those negatives. And that's probably one of the bigger things. And I think that's an experience thing. It's like a decade thing, Like, I got in a good beer right around the turn of the millennium. You and Ryan and Joe were at the same time. Joe a little bit sooner, I assume. I could be wrong, but it's one of those things where it's just like over time I'm just like, okay, I'm 9 times out of 10 I'm gonna expect a little bit of wet paper, or I'm gonna expect this on it. You know what I mean? And I'm cool with that. You know what I mean? Like it's something that I can get down with.
Yeah, like I really got heavy into beer in like 2011, like right after I turned 21. Um, so like where it's weird. Like I've had this span of like 4 years of just like I started reviewing and then went like hard and I'm now in a brewing program. Uh, this is I don't know. It's like my taste. I actually wrote early on. I wrote a little article for our old website, like just palette change and like what kind of time. But it was weird to think because that time was maybe over a year and a half span. I don't remember exactly when I wrote the initial article type thing. But since then, I've definitely kind of almost moved away from the super hop forward beers and really dove into barrel and big kind of malt forward stuff.
Nice. What about you, Ryan? How have you gone as far as because I think you've taken the biggest change based off of from where I initially met you till now.
Yeah, I mean, even before we met, like, I mean, first starting off, it would be like, your womanly, fruity wheat beers, and then that's where it like just started, like, your Sea Dog blueberry, your Ithaca apricot wheat, those kind of, I guess, summery, low hop, pretty much anything low hopped, your wheat beers, your Hefeweizens. Like, if it had hops in it, it might have been, it was like devil juice. I didn't want nothing to do with it. And then, like, fast forward to, maybe a year and a half now, it's, sometimes I crave those hops every so often. Like, I have to go from drinking an Imperial Stout to, I want a hoppy beer. It's pretty crazy how fast your palate progresses when you start drinking better than average beer. Or average beer, and then before I even started liking hoppy beers, my one friend that kind of like threw me into the fire, like added me to all these Facebook beer group friends that trade and everything. He's like, "You ever have a sour beer?" I'm like, "Who? What? A sour beer?" I'm like, "A beer that's sour? They make those?" I'm like, I love sour warheads. I love all I'll drink lemon juice if you let me. So then like it was kind of like non-hoppy beers then sour beers, which is kind of a weird progression.
Yeah,
and then,
it's like one extreme to the other.
Yeah, and then throw in wait, they make beers that taste like chocolate. I like chocolate. then it started the stouts, and then here and there, if you go to any bottle share or something like that, somebody's gonna bring an IPA because they're everywhere. So you start drinking one here and there, and you kind of like fine tune what kind of hoppy beers, because there's different kinds of hoppy beers. There's ones that are like bitter beer face ones, and then there's ones that are they have some bitter bite, some hot bite to it, but they're more like fruitful and maltier IPAs, and then it just snowballed from there.
Talking about bringing hoppy beers to like a bottle share, one of the Christmas bottle shares that J&H did, I brought the Lagunitas Lucky 13, and I think once I opened that went almost immediately because it cut. it was almost like we used it as like a palate cleanser from everything else. People were like, "Oh, something hoppy, thank you." let's change it up a little bit.
Now, we covered pretty much, our favorite beers, our favorite styles, our least favorite styles, and our progression. Do you guys have anything in mind as far as like what you personally think you're going to be into next? Like, not necessarily where beer's trending, but personally yourself, like a style that for some reason you want to explore further that you haven't really dove headfirst into.
Belgian Goldens and triples for me, like I said before.
I'll guide you, big. I'll guide you.
Yeah. I don't know. I never got into them, and then I tried a couple, like I said before, in class, and I'm like, all right, I could see where this is going, and yeah, I'm starting to gain a little bit more of an appreciation for them.
How about you, Ryan?
Probably just having beers that I don't really tend to like. I can probably count on my fingers how many times I've had a quad or like a double or kind of like the like even like Trappist ales. I don't think I've ever had a Trappist ale. I mean, I just I had a lot of, I know what I like, but I want to start getting out of the comfort zone, and because there might be other beer styles that I really would like.
See, this is like this is the thing when I touched on it earlier about like Belgian ales being like to me it was almost like a beginner thing when I started, and now it's like almost like a fourth thought. It's always going to be there. It's never going to go away. It's like the how do I put it? It's like the it's like Frank Sinatra. That's what Belgian beers are. It's like, there's going to be artists that are bigger, there's going to be artists that are more popular in the moment, but Frank Sinatra's always going to fucking be there. You know what I mean? He's never going to go away. And that's kind of what Belgian beers are. And it seems like a lot of times, like, people come, especially with the, like you said it, Joe, and coming from the hop aspect, like a Belgian beer, I think we touched on this last time. We could have, maybe not. I don't remember, but it's the
yeast.
The hop is a big flavor profile for a lot of beers, especially American-born beers, and that's where you get your flavor from. Well, Belgian's all about the yeast, and then that's kind of a foreign concept for a lot of American-based, not just brewers, but people that drink beer. So when you sit there and you'll be like, okay, wait, the yeast is delivering the flavor on this one. It's kind of like
when we get a style and want to do it, we use more of just about everything.
Yeah, so it's a unique and cool avenue to go down. Like, I'm kind of envious. Do you know what I mean? Both you guys going into the triples, and then for Ryan going into Belgian kind of head first. I wish I had Alzheimer's in beer to where I could forget Belgians and re-experience them again. But for me, I mean, it's a weird one, man. And it's a weird, because I said it's kind of like a unique, or not a unique style, but an undefined style as far as I know, because I don't know much about it. But with me me and Ryan reviewed the Spitzeltoe, and then I just reviewed and really liked Oosthouse's Bier de Garde, the Bier de Garde style. I just really want to dive headfirst in it and to see where it goes, because it seems like I don't know the definitions of the style. I don't know if that's ignorance on my part, or if it's just an all over the place style. There's something about it. I just actually want to dive headfirst into it and see if I can get a grasp on exactly what the fuck is going on, because I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
I don't fucking know. I think I know. I've researched it, and I'm like, maybe there is something I don't know. So
the only Bier de Garde that I've had is actually the same one that you've had, the Oost one.
Yeah, and I love that. And the Spitzeltoe, me and Ryan reviewed, and it was a weird beer because it didn't blow me away, but at the same time, it's because it came out of the bottle such an odd way, and I didn't expect it to come out that way. It kind of caught me off guard. So it's like, it's just, it was almost a smortion. So it was like a weird thing to where I just didn't know what was going on.
A smortion.
It's a smortion. It rhymes with it rhymes with some smortion. Right, it's an inside joke with me and Ryan.
I think what you're talking about, like yeast-driven beers, I think you're going to see those coming up a lot more because of whether we like it or not. All these breweries that are popping up using tons and tons and tons of hops. There's not enough hops to like at some point we're going to come to a head, and there's going to not be enough hops for everybody to go around. So
there's already barely enough hops to go around.
I don't see that. Only because I know there was a hop shortage not too long ago, but go ahead.
Hops that everybody wants to use.
Yeah,
hops that everyone wants to use. There's not enough.
That and you're going to see those, the Citra, the all those big name hops. They're going to be paying a premium, we're going to see the price going up. So I mean, maybe.
And that's what I agree with what your initial point, and that I think yeast-driven beers are going to pop up not because hops are hard to get, it's because somebody's going to want to separate themselves from the pack and be like, okay, everybody's trying to produce a Great Lakes Chill Wave, everybody's trying to produce a Barrel Aged Dark Lord, everybody's trying to produce the same kind of beer and get people going. Well, what's left? I mean, really,
I think something like what Crooked Stave does, where they use entirely Brettanomyces, I think you're going to start seeing stuff like that.
No, that was feedback on Ryan's.
Oh, okay. I think like not necessarily using entirely Brett, but like experimenting more with like a style of yeast. Just basically, I'm skirting around the yeast-driven beers are going to start popping up.
Yeah, Brett is a totally different monster. It's not the same. It's not like you're talking about yeast and you talk about Brett. Like this is the only reason why I don't think Brett beers will ever be like, to me, Brett beers are like sour beers, and that I think there will be a bigger than a niche. Like, I'm not saying it's going to be a niche beer or a niche yeast or a niche whatever. This is why I don't ever think Brett is going to be like the huge, like next IPA kind of thing, or even close.
What do you think is going to be?
Do you ever see the episode of Always Sunny in Philadelphia when Charlie's the wild card? He's like, wild card, bitches, and he jumps out the back of the truck. You ever see that?
No.
That's like Brettanomyces. It's like, I'm the wild card, motherfucker, and then jump out the back of the truck. Like, sometimes you just don't really know. Sometimes you don't know. So inconsistency is key when it comes to brewing. So you can't try to make a core brand or try to build a style of Brett because you just don't fucking know. Is it going to taste like? I don't fucking know. It's Brett. You know what I mean? Like, it could be. I mean, yes, kind of know what's going to go on, but at the same time, you don't know.
Yeah, I think you do.
I think the guy that does Crooked Stave,
Chad Jacobson.
Yeah, that was his. He studied at.
I forget where it was too.
I think it's Harriet Watt in Scotland, and that was what he did his like masters in, was Brett.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he even got like a doctorate in it or something.
Yeah, like he did like his thesis or some shit. He did something like major in Brett. Yeah,
and I mean there's Brett all Brett IPAs where you don't even get like an ounce of Brett doesn't really give you sour. It gives you more funky.
Doesn't.
Yeah, funky barnyardiness. Yeah, it's not a sour.
But yeah, there's strains of Brett that you will think that it's just brewer's yeast. There's like IPAs out there that are all Brett.
And I understand that. And it's atypical. Like, I don't know how to put it. There's different strains, like you said. There's different strains of Brett, but there's also like the wild card crazy Brett. And then there's refined, genetically manufactured. I wanted to do this thing kind of Brett. You know what I mean? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does. And like what I like last semester for us was a ton of like microbiology and chemistry, and like from what we were kind of taught in the class, I don't know exactly how, like, 'cause a lot with Brett, like the jury's kind of still out. I don't know how true some of this stuff was, but like if you can get Brett into like a secondary fermentation mode, that's when it starts eating some of the crazy sugars that like normal yeast doesn't touch. Yeah. So if you kind of treated it like your normal ale yeast, it's going to behave like your normal ale yeast.
How hard is it
to take over your?
How hard is it to get it into that secondary mode?
It would be using it in in a secondary. It would be using it in a secondary fashion instead of as your primary yeast, when all your sugar that your normal yeast is taking up is gone, and there's harder to break down sugars left.
So you're almost pitching a different yeast in your secondary as opposed to using it in your first, or you're using the same yeast in the first and second?
No, say like if you bottled, like Brett can eat wood sugars, so you'll see a lot of Brett in barrels, and that would be like the example of like a secondary mode, because your normal yeast isn't capable of consuming. Those sugars are too big for them to even bother with.
Matt, a lot of sours are primary fermented with like a regular ale yeast, and then they'll dump in a mix of they call them bugs into secondary.
Yeah, no. And the other thing about yeast that I forgot about but I wanted to bring up is that, and this is why I think yeast might drive not only burps but also fucking breweries in the future, is if you listen to interviews with brewers, there's a local radio show by us, Beer Geeks Radio, a really nice show. So if anybody in this area, or not just locally but online, check it out. They were talking about Jack's Abbey today, and they touched on it, and a bunch of breweries touched on it. It seems like more and more breweries are just going house yeast, one yeast only, and that's it. Like, they're just sticking with one yeast that is versatile and then just using it to make all their beers. And that's kind of why I think maybe yeast might be the next thing, not that separates somebody, instead of just sitting there and think about one brewery and be like, yeah, we just use one hop and one hop only. That's it. Yeah. It is, like, not that hops and yeast are equal as far as whatever.
No, I see I get what you're saying, like, ingredient-wise, like, we're only going to use this ingredient and only that. Yeah,
it's a weird angle to come from. Is it now both you guys would know better than I would, because you both brew. I hold buckets.
You do.
Yes, I do it fucking well.
Like a champ.
Champion, gold medal status. But is it gold yeast medal, that? Do you think hops are sought after or cultivated or accumulated because of its variety or ease of use? Like, yeast seems like it's a little bit more like a rabid dog, a little more untamed. So it's harder to deal with.
Here's the thing: if hops were only made for their ease of use, we would have only high alpha acid hops, because you would get more bang for your buck out of a higher alpha acid.
You'd have to use less of them too. So.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. More bang for your buck out of a higher alpha acid hop, as opposed to a variety of hops where one is better for bittering and others are for flavor and aroma.
And I think, like, if what you're saying, like, hop growing, there's a lot of different variables. There's weather, there's Mother Earth, and everything you have to attend with. But yeast is grown up in a lab, so it's a very controlled environment.
Yeah, but once you introduce yeast into a beer, or getting it from cultivation to the beer, is different than growing. Like, you're talking about growing a yeast, growing a hop, then using a hop in a beer, using yeast in a beer. In my brain, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's like flip-flop. It's a little easier. It's a little harder to grow a hop, but it's easier to use it in brewing, where it's easier to grow a yeast, but harder to use it in brewing in the proper manner. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of how I've always viewed it.
Yeah, like I just experimented with harvesting some yeast. I harvested some Hefeweizen yeast, and I haven't used it yet, but there's a good chance that any beer that I use from that is sour. It could sour and like fuck up.
Yeah, I mean,
there's like a chance that all 8 or 10 vials or jars that I have are all contaminated.
And like,
I don't know.
Perfect example would be like, how many times have you used a hop and then had to replace all your fermenters?
None.
How many times have you used a yeast and had to replace all your fermenters?
That was a blend of yeast and it had bugs in it.
But that's
it had like
the point I'm trying to make.
it had like shit that's not going to go away.
And that's my point.
If I used glass, it would be fine.
And Matt, you're saying the ease of use, like you're using hops, you're just basically you're figuring out what time to put them in the boil. There's with yeast, you gotta keep it you gotta pretty much babysit it at a certain temperature. You gotta throw it in at the right time, at the right temperature. You gotta make sure you have enough of it. So
that's
yeah,
my
it is.
Point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's my point. There's more legwork involved. There's more whatever involved, and I understand why a house like there is house yeast, but again, the whole point was trying to say like to me, my vision is yeast is going to be a game changer going forward.
No, I think it will be as well. Yeah.
Now, when they say house yeast, it's pretty much just they use one particular yeast for 5-10 beers. It's not like something that they made. They probably
it's
what the yeast they use in almost all their beers.
Yeah.
Dogfish Head's house yeast is the base of it is USO5. It's just American ale yeast that I use in base. Like I could say that USO5 is my house yeast because I use that in just about every beer that I do.
And the point, and I guess to break it down, like again, the point I'm trying to make is, if you use 20 different hops in your house, it would be a safer, easier process than using 20 different yeast strains.
Yeah.
And that's the point I'm trying to make.
Unless you have without proper
different sealed facilities in the whole nine. You know what I mean? Like, which almost all breweries can't do. You know what I mean? Even breweries that we think are big. You know what I mean? Like, for example, again, Jack's Abbey. Like even like Smutty Nose, stuff like that. Like we're like, wow, these huge breweries. They're big, but they're not gigantic. You know what I mean? Like they're not like, they're smaller regional breweries that just do stuff, so they can't like fiddle with their equipment and do different things. That's why you have breweries have house yeast, have specific beers that they make and cater to the public to try to keep their head afloat.
Anyway, another thing is that like hops, once they're picked, they're dead. Yeast is a living thing, so you got to take proper steps in order to keep it alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have a hard time keeping my dogs and my plants alive, so there you go. So yeah, let's wrap this up because we're pushing. I think we're pushing almost 2 hours again.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. So let's wrap this up. What else do you guys have to add? You have anything specific you'd like to add to the end, or what?
No, I think we had a very nice. I liked this segue of like where beer is, where we think beer is going. I enjoyed this a lot.
No, it was a good angle. I mean, Joe is the coordinator of the topics. It seems like at this point, and I'm a fan of that. I'll let him a riff on what needs to be done as far as what we're going to talk about, and then we'll just randomly spout nonsensical bullshit into a microphone because that's what I'm good at. So there you go. So yeah, I mean, we covered favorite styles. We covered not so favorite styles. We covered favorite barrels. Not so favorite barrels. We covered a review of a mead that was not so mead, but it was kind of mead and it was kind of good. And then we covered evolution of palates, and then we covered a whole lot of like yeast and bullshit evolution stuff.
We did a lot of we did. I liked having someone that also brews, so all the brewing stuff doesn't fall on me.
Yeah. No, it was actually one of the reasons why I didn't bring Brian up when we were talking about first guest is because I wanted to keep him for a brewery or a brewer or home brewer. No, he's never going to come back ever again. He's not allowed.
No,
one time
never.
only. That's it, ever.
Yeah. Enjoy it now, Ryan. Enjoy it now.
Yeah.
This is it. Everybody gets one.
Enjoy your.
This was my 15 minutes.
Enjoy your 1 hour,
1
hour and 40 minutes of fame. But no, obviously we'll have him back.
Nah, Ryan will be back.
Yeah, he's an okay guy.
Yeah,
thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks,
So, yeah,
Matthew.
thank you, Reginald, or Ryan, whatever. There's a long version of Ryan. Yeah, I can't
Ryan.
call you. I know. Whatever. Anyway, so yeah, it was a good show, man. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the last end where we're kind of going back and forth organically. Kind of going back and forth, and I probably said a bunch of stupid shit. But anyway, so there you go. Another one down in the books. How do you feel about it, Joe? Good episode? Bad episode? What do you think? Okay, Joe is frozen again, so we're just going to end it here. So for Joe Cali, NEPA Beer Reviews, and NEPA Beer Reviews, Squarespace.com. And he's back now. Joe.
Yep. I was going strong.
I was going to sign off. I was going to sign off for you, buddy.
All right. Well,
where do people find
Has
you?
Everybody else done? Okay.
No.
No, you're first.
Okay. You find us at nepabeerreviews.squarespace.com. Again, us being myself and Amanda. We have a lot of different stuff coming up soon. I've started my kind of how-to homebrewing section. I'm also going to work on an article about kind of if you're into beer, why you should seriously consider brewing. Not as a career, but as, a hobby. And yeah, so also apart from our website, you'd find myself at NEPA Beer Reviews on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and NEPA Beer on Untapped. It's not NEPA Beer Reviews. If you also want to follow Amanda, she's at NEPA Beer Blogger on Twitter.
How about you, Ryan?
You can find me on YouTube. My username is Lubrew. Post some homebrew goodness, and on Instagram for brew photo. Take some pictures of beer and some homebrew stuff.
Yeah, very nice pictures of beer.
Thanks.
Very true. If anybody out there ever needs pictures done, brewery or beer or otherwise, contact this motherfucker. Like you said, brew photo on Instagram and Lou Brew on YouTube.
On the YouTube.
And me, Matt, Massive Beer Reviews, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Untapped Massive Beers in all four of those places. And yeah, thanks for joining us again on Love Beer Radio. And hope to see you next week. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, no problem.